with me, Nishant, Monsi, all of us are there. And we'll go live sharp at 1:30.
Yeah, good afternoon. Just give me a minute. I'm adjusting the volume, etc. Give me a minute. And Louisa, good morning. It's a pleasure to meet you, and very, very happy to have you connected with us.
Good morning. I'm excited to launch it today. It's really exciting and close to my heart because we need to what's the word? We need to get the conversation going, and especially with men and women. It's just
I completely agree with you. Yeah, completely agree with you. And I think there is, so many things that we could do, but it begins first with a conversation.
Yes.
So we can, the beauty is that science is enabling it. It's for us now to allow people to step up and feel confident about, using this science towards their well-being.
Yes, definitely.
So, Vijaya, you want to quickly tell us how you're handling the session?
Ma'am, first I'll give a brief introduction. Then I'll hand over the stage to both of you. You will ask questions. You both will have a dialogue. And then if there are question answer sessions, we'll pick a few questions and that can be answered.
No. So those questions will be shown to us on the screen, or you'll come back and tell us those questions?
Ma'am, I'll come back and tell you the questions.
Okay, that's fine, Vijaya. And Louisa, do you prefer Louise or Louisa? How would you like us to pronounce your name? Louise.
Louise.
Okay, Louise. And the questions that I have these been shared with you? Do you have any particular favorite question?
No, but I'll just go with the flow. You can ask the questions and I'll answer them.
Perfect. And may I ask, Louise, do you have children before we go on?
I have 2 boys.
Perfect. So I'm going to ask you that. Perfect. Okay.
Ma'am, we'll be live any minute, ma'am.
Okay, I'm ready.
Put on board. Keep it on board.
Hello everyone. Namaste from Apollo family. I'm Dr. Vijay Agarwal, Director Medical Services at Apollo Health and Lifestyle. I'm very pleased to be part of this great initiative by Apollo Fertility, Joys and Beginnings. Today I would like to introduce you all to outstanding women who have changed the way society looks at healthcare innovations. We have with us Dr. Sangita Reddy. She is a global healthcare leader, Indian entrepreneur, and humanitarian. She is the Joint Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals Group. She is passionately committed to transforming healthcare systems through technological advancement. We welcome you, ma'am, and thanks for gracing the occasion. We also have with us Miss Louise Joy Brown, who is world's first IVF baby and celebrates her birthday on 25th of July every year, which is also observed as World IVF Day. We wish you a very happy birthday in advance and thank you for joining with us today for the launch of Joys and Beginning. We are pleased to share that she will be the ambassador for Joys and Beginnings, a new initiative powered by Apollo Fertility in India. It is a unique online forum to discuss the challenges and possibilities of fertility among couples. With IVF, miracles can happen. And today we are going to hear from Miracle herself. Now I hand over the stage to these 2 lovely ladies. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
So, thank you, Vijaya. Let me begin by saying hello to everybody and a very special hello to Louise Joy Brown. It is so perfect that you were named Joy as your middle name, because I think you brought joy to your family as well as to many others who took inspiration from the powerful science that evolved with IVF. So, hello, Louise, and very happy to be having this conversation with you.
Hello, thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. Hello, everybody. It is so nice to be speaking to you all in India. As you can see from my t-shirt, I am now really pleased to be part of the Apollo Fertility team and be supporting you in your new initiative to help people who want to have a family. Tomorrow is my birthday. I will be 45 years old. Every year on my birthday, people all over the world celebrate because of the work Bob Edwards, Patrick Steptoe and Jean Purdy gave hope to everyone that IVF could help them have a baby. This is a portrait of Bob Edwards, the scientist who helped my mum and dad give birth to me. He was eventually awarded the Nobel Prize, but the real prize for him was knowing he had helped so many people around the world. All of you working as doctors, embryologists, and other roles are carrying on the great work that the pioneers started with my birth in 1978. Patrick Steptoe gave me a middle name. That middle name is Joy. He said it was because my birth would help to bring joy to many people around the world. So I am delighted that you have chosen to call your new support group Joys and Beginnings. I have travelled to 4 continents around the world, meeting people working at helping people with fertility problems. Everywhere the issues are the same. People need to know where to get reliable help and how to begin to find out how they can have a family. There is a lot of advice online, but not all of it is reliable. I always say to patients that the first step is talking to your doctor with their partners to work out what the problem might be and how they get help. I understand that in many countries, India being one of them, that persuading men to seek help is more difficult. So I am pleased that Apollo Fertility are supporting men and women with good quality information. My mum and dad tried for 9 years before they sought help. Mum was told by a doctor that there was only 1 million to 1 chance she would get pregnant. Thanks to the new techniques being developed, that 1 million to 1 chance came along. She was very determined and always believed she would get the help she needed and start the family that meant so much to her. She went on to have a second child. My dad died before my mum. Just before she died, Mum told me that without the IVF treatment, she would have been alone in the world. It wasn't just about having a baby, it was about having a whole family. Grandchildren, son-in-laws, and all her relatives came along as a result of my birth. That is how important your work is. I am pleased to launch Joys and Beginnings today, and I hope it will lead to thousands of people beginning their journey towards having a family by talking to you. Now I understand some of you want to ask me some questions about my birth and life, so let's get those chats together started.
So Louise, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction and the insight into your story and what it meant for your family. I want to share the fact that, what affected your parents is a scenario which affects many couples, and it is important for these couples to be able to reach out. In India, the statistics is that 1 in 6 couples actually have, some kind of infertility related, scenario or problem, but very few of them actually come forward for treatment. Another situation is that couples are these days planning their children later than they used to before, whether it's career related or the fact that they have, unit families, they've moved away from their parents, their jobs have taken them elsewhere. So the changing scenario of the socioeconomic evolution has really brought about this later childbearing. And as a result of that, the fertility rates have come down. And fertility rates have been coming down all over the world, including India. So in response to this great need, Apollo has always existed to answer the needs of our patients. In response to that, we started Infertility. From the very beginning, we wanted to bring not the state-of-the-art technology, the best doctors to ensure the best results. because we realize somebody going into an IVF procedure has a lot of mental and physical trauma. But I'm so happy that the results of, the over 30,000 successful procedures that we have done have really encouraged more and more people to come forward. I also want to share that from the very beginning, we created the concept of equality. And this was a very important point because very often infertility was always blamed on the woman. And therefore, we thought about this concept of equality. And we also created the idea of a score over infertility, which is a checkup for both the male and the female. And very often, post the small checkup, minor changes, whether it's in behavior, in medication, or in counseling, enable them to have a successful pregnancy even before IVF. And then when you think about IVF, there are many different procedures that we now do. Using the common science, IVF, ICSI, we do assisted hatching, we do cryopreservation. So young women who are planning to have a pregnancy later in their life, it's advisable for them to do cryopreservation of the eggs or the egg freezing program. We also have donor embryo transfer programs, genetic testing, all the advanced testing to ensure a major focus on andrology, sperm retrieval programs, laparoscopic and endoscopic procedures, so everything that's required. But we also now, I'm really happy that today we're launching this program of Joy and Beginnings, because this is our psychological support program. This is our scientific, program with the human touch to say that, ultimately at the end of the day, it's all about people. So thank you, Louise, for being here with us, for being our brand ambassador, for encouraging everybody to come forward. This conversation that we're having will be translated into many Indian languages so that more and more people can have access to this. As the questions come up on the chatbot, or Vijaya comes back and shares questions from the audience, I want to ask you a few questions. And I think the first one is that your mother spoke about the beauty of family. What is your family like?
I have two boys. So my eldest boy, they're both naturally conceived. So my eldest son is nearly 17.
Wow.
And my youngest one is nearly 10.
Okay.
So
lovely.
I had a bit of a gap in between them. Me and my husband, we stopped at the 2.
So I'm the mother of 3 boys, so I understand a boy household, and congratulations. It's a lot of energy and fun. And I'm so glad. I want to highlight that point that Louise said, that both her children are naturally conceived. So having, been born as an IVF baby does not necessarily mean that you have to keep doing IVF. You can have natural conception also. And very often we've seen first babies from IVF and the second baby is naturally conceived by the same couple. So, this is sometimes just a little push in the right direction. So, 45 years ago, I think you were a miracle. You still are a miracle, as is every birth. But did you hear later, what was society's reaction to your birth? When did you know that you were an IVF baby? How was this introduced? Share some of those early reactions.
So I, just before I went to school, I was 4 in the July. So I started school in the September. So I was relatively just 4. Mum and Dad sat me down, and my birth was recorded. You can watch it on YouTube. So they sat me down and they showed me the video of my birth, which was a bit gruesome because it was a C-section, and obviously they pull me out and there's the mucus and the blood, and so it was a bit of a strange one. But they just basically said that Patrick Steptoe and Bob Edwards helped mum and dad have me, and sort of left it at that, because at 4 years old you don't really understand a great deal of it. The rest I sort of learned as I was getting older. I used to sit and Mum and Dad, when Mum and Dad were being interviewed by different TV, radio, news journalists, and I used to sort of just sit and listen. So I used to get a lot of my information from that as well. But any questions I had, I could ask Mum and Dad. They were quite open with me. So that was when, so I was 4. And then obviously as you get older, I mean, I did sex education in school. So that sort of the penny sort of dropped then, why there was all this media and press interest in me.
Understood.
The reactions from around the world, most were good. Before I even left hospital, I was 12 days old when we went from Oldham down to our hometown, Bristol. We had thousands of cards that found us well-wishers, people asking Mum for advice on how they could get treatment. Also, we had some strange things. We had something come in from California. It was a test tube with a fetus in it and blood, and it just said the message was, "We're going to come and get you." Just really strange things. It was it was a lot to take in at the time for my mum, I think.
Yeah, but I think the overall positivity of what happened and what you've been able to influence others, I think overpowers anything else. So just tell us, what is your commitment towards childless couples? What's your advice to them? And how have you been kind of a crusader for this very powerful science?
I think once Mum and Dad passed away, and Patrick and Bob and Jean, at the minute there's only 2 people still alive that was in that room when I was born. And that is one of the Patrick's doctors. He used to take Mum's blood. So John Webster's still alive, and obviously me. And I just felt that there was no one around to keep everybody's name alive. And I just felt that it was not my duty, but I wanted to do it as well. I like meeting patients. I like meeting doctors. I think it's very important to keep people talking. It's just there is still a taboo from even 45 years. And as you said, a lot of men don't come forward, and sometimes it is the male problem. So I think this Joys and Beginnings is absolutely brilliant because it gets people talking, and that's what people need to do.
That's so perfect. So we're looking forward to seeing you on Joys and Beginnings as often as you can. And what would you have some advice for medical professionals? We have a large team. We have over 17 centers and programs around IVF and patients. Would you have any advice to the doctors and the medical people who are making this happen?
Listen to your patients, which I'm sure you do anyway, but they're the ones that are going through the process. And if they're talking to you, just please listen and please advise them as best you can. Is very important. I mean, Mum and Dad had no one at all to speak to. I don't even think Mum could talk to her mum, my gran, because they just didn't have that kind of relationship, and it wasn't known. So
being a pioneer is sometimes a lonely journey. And
yes.
But this is a difficult journey for any couple, and so we perceive and we hope that Joys and Beginnings will really help ease any of the fears, the apprehensions, the clinical doubts. And we want this to be a scientific, ethical, empathetic forum where people can bravely come and just ask what they want and hear the right kind of advice from people who have been through it. So that's really broadly the plan. I'm also, quite interested and happy about a program that we have called Dream of Tomorrow, which is our egg freezing program. And this has become essential because very often, and rightly so, women are very committed to their careers these days. And the current setup, where the lack of the care economy being developed well, doesn't truly help every woman manage both. So I want my message really to many women is that you can have both. You can have a great family and have a great career. It needs a little planning and a little bit of help from science. So Dream of Tomorrow is this idea of storing your young eggs, because when you're younger, your production capacity is more, your eggs are healthier, and then you can plan to have your pregnancy even much later in life with absolutely no deterioration of the quality of the fetus. So this is something that I'm also very passionate about. And I constantly counsel young women to do that so that they don't have to feel that they've compromised on either side. Do you have any other thoughts, Louise, of at what stage should a couple start thinking about IVF? What do you think about egg storage, or any advice for a couple going through IVF? Because you've met so many.
Yeah, I think egg storage and egg freezing is really good. When I was growing up, apart from being an IVF baby, I never heard. I think Believe now in England, you learn about it at school, whereas when I was growing up, you didn't hear about it. So again, it's letting people know the options that are out there for them, and like you say, they can have a career, they can have a family. It just takes a little bit of planning and a help from you. So it's also cancer. You don't know what will happen if you get cancer, if you get ovarian cancer or any type of cancer. At least you can then plan if you're very young, which I hear a lot about that nowadays. Young women having breast cancer and things like that. It just helps.
Thank you for adding that point, Louise. We are actually in India like the largest provider of advanced cancer care. I should have said that myself. Thank you for adding that point. It's a very important one because the uncertainties of cancer, and women are getting, it's estimated that 1 out of 7 women will get cancer. Ovarian cancer is becoming more frequent. It used to be mostly breast cancer or cervical cancer, but ovarian cancer is now growing. And therefore, storage to preserve your eggs and ensure that you are protected in the unlikely and unfortunate event of having cancer is very critical. Thank you for adding that.
It's the same with the men as well for their sperm. Freezing sperm, because if they have cancer, they think, oh, that's the end of my family dream. But it doesn't have to be. It's all this advice and all the awareness of everything that is very important.
Right. And so many important therapies, whether it's andrology or male treatment, female treatment, little bit of, hormone boosting. There's so many important therapies. So I think couples, who have been trying, say, for 2 years at the maximum should definitely seek professional help and ensure while they're still young that they're able to do the best possible for themselves.
Yes, definitely.
With this, I think it'll be good for us to understand what the audience wants to ask you. This is a live stream, so Vijaya?
Yes, ma'am. I have few questions. There are many, but I've collected which is asked most
I
frequently.
can imagine there are a lot of questions
Yeah.
and many people who want to see and interact with Louise and wish her a very, very happy birthday. But please go ahead, Vijaya.
So the most frequently asked one question, which everybody wants to know, is when, as a growing child, when it was disclosed to the society that this was an assisted reproductive technique, it was not a normal conception. How did society, your friends, your relatives react to it?
So the reason Mum and Dad showed the video of my birth was because obviously I was starting school, and I went to school with a small, the school I went to was a very small school. There was about 25 children in a class per year. So I went all through school with a very small minority, and obviously all people that live locally to me. So they were all aware of it as well, because it was a big thing when I was born, and obviously they'd asked their mum and dad things. My most common question I got asked was, how did you get out of the test tube? And I just used to say to them, like I knew everything, don't be silly, a test tube wasn't involved, it was a petri dish. And they said, well, why is it called a test tube baby then? And I said, I don't know, I can't answer that question.
That is so sweet. That's really sweet. Yeah. So go ahead, Vijaya, next one.
So one more question which people would like to know, as a growing child, do you remember any health issues which are not there in people born out of normal conception, or any specific health issue you faced, which you think?
I'm sorry, Vijaya, I want to interject with one thing. I think today, the number of IVF is so high that it's almost normal. So
Yes.
I would not, it's like, you say, we don't even use the word normal or natural or scientific. Maybe assisted reproduction is this thing. So, but going back to her question, Louise, have you heard of any differential in babies who are conceived out of assisted reproductive techniques?
No, I know when I was born, Patrick stepped out because Mum had the C-section. She was had a general anaesthetic, so she was asleep. They took me away and did over 100 tests to make sure that I was completely normal, because it wasn't known then. They didn't know. A simple thing like a cleft lip or anything like that could have been the end of IVF. But they took me away, they took my fingerprints, did 100 tests, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And I've not had a test since, because there was nothing wrong in the beginning. They just couldn't find anything. So I've not heard of any. I know quite a few people that have been born by IVF, and they are completely fine as well.
So, Louise, thank you for that very clear statement that, there's no difference and you're completely, normal and everything is fine, and many, many others. So this is a myth-busting session. So, Vijaya, I think we need to, if there is any myth that there's a difference between babies born out of IVF or babies born without any assistance, is really, there is no difference, because the process of fertilization is exactly the same, and there is nothing to worry about. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. So we want our audience to note it down, please. It is like any other normal birth. It just requires little medical intervention to make it happen. So
and the other, I think, very important thing is Louise's birth was a matter of a scientific breakthrough and a great celebration, because it gave hope to so many in the world. Today, nobody even mentions whether they did an IVF or not. It's commonplace.
It's very, very common.
Right. So I don't think, anybody needs to worry about that. And so, Louise, for opening up that chapter in so many people's lives, thank you.
So, Louise, you travel across the world. So what difference do you see in different communities regarding this myth about IVF? So any change between Western, Eastern world, or any change you feel across different cultures?
Obviously, when I go to different countries, everyone's got their own set of rules that they've got to adhere to. So here, is a lot different to, say, in India. One of my, when my mum was alive, we went to Bulgaria on a visit. And basically the visit I went and met up with is called I Want a Baby Foundation. And that visit actually enabled the government to fund IVF in Bulgaria, which was a massive thing. Because I think everybody, it goes back to when I was born. Patrick and Bob and Jean wanted IVF to be able to be used by everybody, not just the rich and famous, but everybody who needed it. And the fact that me and my mum's visit to Bulgaria enabled some women to have a chance to have families, it was an amazing feeling. And any little bit of help that I can do around the world, my job's done.
That's beautiful, Louise. Thank you. And, we will get back to you with an ability to, use your support, and we create a foundation to enable more women to afford this treatment, because it is expensive. The injections, etc., are expensive, but it's become more and more affordable. Yes. As we come to the end, I just wanted to say one thing, because Louise was very keen about this, that her being present is to ensure that the memory of the scientists who made this happen stays alive. So first, I would like to thank her late parents, Leslie Brown and John Brown. And I would like to acknowledge, appreciate, and celebrate the scientists, Bob Edwards and Patrick Steptoe, who really innovated IVF and took this bold step in a little college, a cottage hospital in the north of England, where the first IVF took place. I also want to especially mention who she fondly refers to as her first babysitter. That is Jean Purdy, who was the first ever embryologist. And this embryologist sat and watched the fetus, watched over the fetus. So that's why she says she was her first babysitter. So many times, beautiful things happen. And IVF is one such beautiful thing which enables a baby to be born. We sometimes forget how many people on the way took a chance, took risks, spent sleepless nights to innovate that science. So as we are celebrating the opening of Joys and Beginnings, as we're wishing joys and beginnings on many, many couples, we are also in the same breath saying thank you. Thank you to the scientists, to your parents, and to Louise Brown. A very, very happy birthday in advance to you. May the joy of your being coming to this world bring joy to many more homes. Thank you, Louise.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Louise, for taking your time out. So, and motivating people and busting many myths about IVF.
Wonderful. Okay. Great pleasure meeting you, Louise. Look forward to seeing you someday in person.
Yeah, and, definitely.
We'll find some time to work on the foundation and helping other women. So, Vijaya, we should ask, women who have, their parents actually, who have successfully undergone an IVF, if they would like to gift a cycle to somebody who, who needs it. And we'll create a foundation so that more people can apply for that foundational help. I think that's what Louise was also talking about, that enabling the reach and the spread. So from Joys and Beginnings, which is our, social interactive platform to ask questions and to clear doubts, is born another beautiful thought, which is a foundation to enable more people. So thank you, Louise, and all the best. Namaste to you. And thank you, Vijaya.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.